Hello everyone, and welcome to the Unity MMO development class brought to you by 3dbuzz.com. My name is Jason Busby, and joining me in this video we've got Mr. Zach Parrish.
Hello.
And we've got Mr. Lee Renault.
Hello.
Now, let's start out by saying welcome.
Hey!
We'd like to welcome all of our students to this MMO class. It's a very unique experience, but we wanted to spend a few minutes in this welcome video, talk about what the class is, and what can be expected from it, and some of the things that we expect from you. The most important thing to understand right now is that this is a video that we would like for every single student to watch from start to finish. Because of that, we need to try our best to keep this video short.
So I'll be keeping an eye on Jason.
Yeah. Some people simply like shorter videos and get lost if it goes on and on. So let's start out by talking about what this class is. We have put up an article on the front page of 3D Buzz that talks about the MMO development class and what it is. It also gives a look at the history of how we got to where we are now. And it talks about the MMO tech demo that we put together before we decided to move forward with the production of an actual MMO. I have a feeling, Zach, that there may be a lot of people that did not read that article or may not have read the forums where we have answered numerous questions pertaining to the structure of this class, nor listened to our radio shows where we have talked in depth about this class.
Sure. We probably have a lot of folks who are just here because they heard they would learn how to make an MMO.
That's right.
And that's all they know.
And did no real research, but just signed up because at the end of the day, it is just a perk for member sponsors, and because of that, it wasn't like they were investing a significant amount of money to kind of feel out what was going on. Well, let's go ahead and spend a minute and talk about what's going on in this class. What's this class all about? This class is really the video documentation or video, what's the word I'm looking for?
Documentary?
Documentary of us creating an MMO.
Right. Jason and I and Zach have had many conversations about what it takes to make a game. A lot of new developers jump in, they want to learn how to make games, and they say, you know what, I'm going to make an MMO. But they have no idea where to begin or what is exactly involved in the process. That's the point of this class, is to document the process from start to finish on everything that goes into making an MMO.
But we thought that it would be much more interesting if we actually created a real MMO as opposed to small examples and snippets and, examples.
That's right. We will be actually making a real MMO here.
That's right.
And while we do it, we're going to document the process.
So that means don't look for all of the videos that will be released to be in a teaching format. That is very important to understand. Now, here at 3D Buzz, we have a habit of everything we do presenting it in such a way that it's, well, teaching. And because of that, I'm sure there will be numerous hours in these videos where it's not really going to be like you standing behind us and watching what we're doing, but instead we're going to be more or less teaching you what it is that's happening. So, but I have to throw out there that this is not a class where we're going to stop and teach C# or concepts within C# or concepts within Unity. We have been steadily releasing free Unity videos to get people up to speed on Unity. So we hope that those of you out there that are new to Unity, that want to follow along with what we do and follow along with Unity, please watch those videos and get yourself up to speed, because the class is about us progressing forward with the creation of our MMO. All right, anything else that you can think of?
There is, actually. And it's something you kind of, you said once, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was completely clear on this. You had said that this class was a perk for member sponsors.
That's right.
And I just want to make sure that that is really clarified. Just because it changes a lot of the ways that this whole thing will be approached. What do we mean when we say perk for member sponsors? Well, member sponsors, as many of you already know, hopefully if you're watching this, you already know this. They subscribe and pay a monthly fee to 3D Buzz for access to our video training library for a lot of exclusive content. And what we wanted to do was put together a special set of videos just for them as our way of saying thank you. And that's kind of how the MMO class came about. However, we decided that instead of it just being an ongoing set of videos, we wanted there to be some interaction in place.
That's right.
We wanted to be able to work with students and have some back and forth, and because of that, we couldn't run the risk of opening it up to absolutely everybody, because that can lead to a lot of problems. If you just have an open-ended, anybody can walk in anytime, you'll have people asking questions about Section 1 when you're on Section 17. It could become overwhelming. There's just too many unknowns. And so we wanted to restrict the number of seats down to a low number. That's why not every single member sponsor is able to watch these. But in the end, it all boils down to us looking for some way to give back to the member sponsors. We were going to be making an MMO game anyway. This is something that has been really important to us for quite some time. If for those of you who hopefully have read, or even if you haven't read the MMO article, it's up on 3D Buzz. There's a pretty long history of the development process for this game, and we wanted to go ahead and push this to the next level. The reason that it's important to you to know that this is a perk for member sponsors is that we don't want you to get too caught up in the idea of this being a class that you are subscribed to. You are not subscribed to this class. You're subscribed as a 3D Buzz member sponsor, and because of that, we're giving you access to this class.
Because you managed to get registered for the class before it filled up. As of right now, the class registration has been taken down, and in the next few days, we will get a sign-up sheet in place for those that are member sponsors that would like a seat in this class, but they're going to have to wait for one of you guys that are currently watching this video right now to drop out in order to take your seat. Okay?
All right.
So there was something you said a second ago that I just wanted to clarify, and that was when you had mentioned, you know, taking the game that we were working on, the tech demo, and taking it further. I just want to make sure everybody understands that that was nothing more than just a tech demo. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It had no basis for the game that we're going to be creating, but it was something that we wanted to invest a significant amount of time. We put at least 6 months into it. Lee and myself, Jeff Wilson also helped out for the first chunk of it. We really wanted to get a good feel for how we wanted to handle doing an MMO by taking a look at various tools that were available, by taking a look at various game development environments. And we have decided on the software that we're happy with that we're going to be using to do this, and we're going to talk more about software in just a few minutes. But we made the most out of that 6 months, and then we finally got up to a point where we were able to have successful tests with quite a few people without any stress on the server, and everything was looking great, and we were starting to have way too much fun just simply developing features, and it was at that point it was time for us to stop and get the class going. There is no MMO right now that we're going to roll out and say, all right, this is what we're creating. Again, this entire process is about documenting what it is that we come up with and create. Okay, that is so important to understand.
Right, we want to show the entire process, but more so than that, we want the students that are in the class to partake in this process.
So that means we're going to start out from the very beginning with, before we really even get into planning, we're just going to start out by talking about the story. And even then, we're going to call it an initial proposal, and then through interaction, meetings, etc., we'll end up shaping our final story. Once we have our final story in place, ironed out for the most part, then we'll move from there over into discussing taking that story and converting it over into an MMO world, in which we'll then get into game mechanics, etc., etc. But we're going to start out with the story. So it's very important to understand, if you have not read anything on 3D Buzz about this class and you ended up with a seat, that this is, again, a documentary process as we work our way through the entire creation. Now let's go ahead, since we've been talking about videos, let's talk about content drops. And when we say content drop, that means we've put together some videos and we have added them into the 3D Buzz streaming system for members to watch.
I'll put releases.
Okay. First of all, schedule. This entire process is an ongoing process. This is in production. As we record videos, we will get those videos encoded and we will put those videos up on the site. There is no set schedule for video releases. Now I'm going to say what I'm about to say, and I'm going to keep saying it throughout the rest of the video. If this is something that you do not like, we totally understand. You do not have to be in the class nor a member sponsor, and the seat can be given to somebody else. We completely respect the fact that not everyone is going to like the way that we are presenting this class. I don't think anyone's ever done a class like this before. We have no idea how large this class is going to be video content-wise by the time we get to the end. You guys are more than welcome to start making bets and best guesses. I am sure that this might be the first thing that we ever create that breaks 1,000 hours or even more. I think up at this point we're around our largest project so far with ADP is around 220, 230 hours. It's massive. But this thing is going to kill that because, well, even with the MMO tech, the amount of code was significant, and that's without even looking at things like assets, etc. So yeah, as far as schedule, there's no set schedule releases. Now, we will be releasing video content to the best of our ability every week, but we're not going to lock ourselves into a for sure every week videos will be released, and here's why. We're getting ADP wrapped up in the next couple of weeks so that the MMO development project can be our major focus at 3D Buzz. We've got a significant amount of interest. We have a lot of people in this class, and we have a lot of emails from people that are still wanting to be in this class. And with that being the case, we're going to put a lot of effort into the class itself. But when we get around towards Christmas time, we might want to take a week off with our family. We also have projects that we still have planned, such as the Unity C# fundamentals that we will be recording, and those are going to be videos that will be available to everyone in this class and everyone else on 3D Buzz as well. You don't have to be a member sponsor. We still have several things that we have planned that will be free releases, but they take time to actually record. So here and there, we're going to be recording these things. Now, we are carefully trying to make our schedules accommodate the constant moving forward of the MMO every day, to be honest with you, so that we can get as many videos as possible rolling every week. So we're just going to say right now that we're looking for a minimum every week of 2 hours of content. Now, what are the odds of this happening? Very, very, very low, probably for any given week. I say that because the video that follows this welcome video is the initial story proposal. And that video in itself is about 2 hours long. And then we've already scheduled our first class meeting for everybody it's going to be later today. It's the first day of the class, so some of you might be watching this video several days later. And of course, all of these class-style meetings that we're going to have will be recorded and posted into the video system. Those class meetings, no telling how long they're going to last. We could end up with a 4 or 5 hour session.
We're going to do everything we can to keep them on topic, keep them moving
Absolutely.
forward at a good pace. But, sometimes those meetings just get involved.
Well, there is a tremendous amount of stuff that we need to go over because we're creating an MMO. It's not like we're taking a look at how to make something like Defender or Pac-Man or Space Invaders.
Tower defense.
Exactly, where, we could literally spend just a few days with planning out and get right into production relatively quickly. This here is a game that's going to include a very rich backstory, very rich environments. There's just so much that needs to go into it. And you guys are going to get to see all of this come together. And it's going to take time. But we are going to jam as hard as we can forward on this and get content rolling. But again, I also like to set some minimum standards, because there were people out there that said, well, what am I going to get? Well, for sure, we're going to give you guys 2 hours of content, and we're going to try to make every single week, unless something big comes up, like say Christmas. But expect, you may see 15 hours, you may see 40 hours. There's no telling. It just depends on what we're doing that week. I mean, because some of the systems in the MMO tech, to have worked through those systems and to be recording as we're coding it and explaining what's happened or happening as we're putting the logic together, I'm not kidding. Some of those things could have easily been 20, 30 hours worth of stuff. Wouldn't you say, Lee?
Well, right. If you start looking at the MMO tech demo just itself, there's over 1,000, close to 2,000 man hours in that demo itself.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
And this is a full MMO, not a tech demo, the full thing. So there's going to be a lot of work that's going to have to be put in on the base framework, testing platforms. Each system's going to have to be R&D'd and tested and coded and iterated over and over again, and to make sure all the bugs are worked out of it.
That's right. Now, if we do not put any videos out in a week, do not worry. Everybody will be updated in the class, in the MMO lounge, with a what's going on and what caused there to be any sort of delay that week. I don't want anyone left in the dark wondering, well, what's going on? This is the same video I saw available yesterday. And I'm not trying to make this sound negative in the least. I'm just wanting to make sure that...
Just trying to cover all the bases.
Yeah, that it's black and white. Very, very clear and concise. So, class meetings. Let's go ahead and spend a moment and talk about class meetings. Class meetings are more of an afterthought. And I say that because, again, as Zach said, we were creating an MMO, period, with or without students. Well, then we decided to have students. And then we decided, well, let's take a look at doing a radio show like broadcast. But the problem I had with that is that students are not able to see our screen and ask questions based off what they see taking place. So we've decided to go ahead and take things a step further and have webinar sessions that will provide access to our screen so that you can actually watch some of the stuff that we're doing and raise your hand in the classroom and ask questions. It's recommended that if you would like to ask questions, not through typing but through voice, check into getting a nice mic, something that you can do VoIP with. Of course, having a broadband connection is going to be very important if you plan to join into one of these classes. But as far as how often we're going to be meeting, this is not something that is going to take place every single day. As Zach has already written, it's optional.
Yeah, I don't want anybody thinking they absolutely have to attend or that they're missing anything by not being able to make it to these. For those who want to be there and want to lend their voice, of course, you're more than welcome. Just keep in mind, again, we were going to be doing this anyway. Also, we're going to be recording these meetings in our standard video format, and you'll reap the benefit of getting to listen in on everything that happened as if you had been there.
That's right.
Well, another thing is these meetings may take the different forms. There'll be open forum meetings where we'll invite a lot of people. Some of the meetings may be invitation only, where only a handful of students will be invited to partake. And there may be a possibility where there's a one-on-one session where a particular student may be invited to tag along as we code something or work on an asset.
Yeah, it really all depends on the situation. The very first initial story proposal video contains a small handful of students that have been with us for a very long time at 3D Buzz and followed the production of the MMO tech demo. So they were invited to sit in and help us do our first testing of the class software as we walk through laying out the initial story proposal. And then they will be playing a part in the iterative process of refining the story, and we will also invite you guys to join in as well and provide your own thoughts and suggestions. Right. And between everybody's suggestions, we should come up with a really amazing story. At least that's the hope. So
the only other thing I do want to mention is that as of right now, we can only take up to 100 connections on our meetings.
That's right. And I need to throw this out. For those of you that have been following the 3D Buzz radio shows, you'll know that we originally set out to only have 100 students. And that's where we were going to cut it off. Well, we have definitely gone past that number. The demand has been staggering. And because of things that were taking place outside of my control with family emergencies, we ended up getting, well, Angela ended up getting behind on getting people verified. So people were starting to really stress out. And so we told everyone on the radio show, just relax. We will make sure that we get everyone into the class, and Angela, gets the verification process done, and don't stress. Well, unfortunately, that resulted in a small window for quite a few people to get signed up. Now, we've also put a post over on 3D Buzz inquiring how many people are planning on actually participating. We don't expect for over 100 people to actually be in the classroom. If we find that many of you are interested in getting into the class, then we will take a look at expanding the capabilities and offer more connections. But right now, we're going to start out with 100 as we originally planned, because again, we don't expect for there to be more than 100 people.
I don't expect there to be 100 people available at one given time.
Exactly.
We have so many people in so many different locations across the planet, really, that it's going to be very difficult to get that high a percentage of our overall student body ready to attend a single meeting at one time. I just don't see it happening. But if it does happen, we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it. The idea is that we start small and expand if we need to.
Right. Now, and that also goes for our forms. We've started off very small with the forms, having only 3 of them available. If we find that there is a need for more forms, basically more granularity in the topics, then we will we'll do that.
Yeah, easier to build up than to tear back down.
Exactly. But at the same time, even though we've got considerably more than 100 people in the class, that doesn't mean that all of you out there will be posting in there. And the last thing we want to do is set up a whole bunch of forums to very specific softwares, etc., and watch those forums just sit there empty with maybe one post a month or so.
Exactly.
Okay, so final thing about classes that I want to mention is just that, as Zach said a second ago, time, and not everyone will be able to jump in the classes at specific times. We do plan on offering classes kind of at like rotating times to accommodate people that are in the U.S. or people that are over in Europe, etc. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that the first time that you can find that's available for day number 1 in the class is going to be, I believe, 4 o'clock Central Standard Time here in the U.S., which for those of you, say, in the UK is probably going to be, what, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
And that might be convenient, if you have to work throughout the day. It might be inconvenient for people here in the States who work. This first week, and I realize that this video is going to kind of be obsolete if I say this and you focus on it too much, but during this first week of class, please understand we're going to be kind of feeling out overall availability and playing with several different times to see what works best with everybody. It doesn't make any sense for us to just put our fingers in our ears and say we're going to have classes at this time and this time only, because we have so many students from so many different parts of the world.
That's right. We really want to make this class work and for it to be an amazing experience for those of you that really want to follow along with us. So please be patient with us and work with us and help us make it what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and move on, Zach, to the token system. This is so important to understand. With 3D Buzz member sponsorship, you sign up as a member sponsor, you have access to all of our videos. In the past, when we were working on various projects, as we progressed, well, an example, ADP. As Zach has videos recorded, those videos are added into the streaming system. And even though the entire project is not done, can jump in and start watching those videos, or some of the videos that, you know, are 100 hours back, or even all the way back at the beginning. So we've had people in the past come and, you know, jump in, watch the first month worth of content that's out, and then say, you know, this is awesome stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait 6 months and let you finish up this one series or add another X number of hours, and then I'll sign up for a month and watch all of that.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah, I understand.
Absolutely, because that is a way to save money and to be very very specific about what you want to see, and get it all packed into a short amount of time. With the MMO class, this is, again, a perk for member sponsors that are in the class. We are not going to make it open, and when I say it, I mean the videos, to all member sponsors. So if you're, you know, not a member sponsor and then you sign up 6 months from right now, and suddenly you have access to all of this content, by that point in 6 months from now, we could have hundreds of hours worth of video. I don't know. I don't want to do that. That is not the plan. So right now it's kind of code-named the token system. And the way it works is all of the videos that we're recording are being divided up into chapters. And you can look at those chapters like months. So chapter 1 begins right now, and it's all of the videos that we record in the month. Now, everybody that we've got watching the video right now that's starting out here as the class actually begins, they've all paid for a month of member sponsorship, so you all get the first month of, or the first chapter of the MMO class development. As the next month rolls around and we begin moving all of the new videos into chapter 2, for those of you that stay member sponsors, your system, or the system, automatically updates your account with a new token, one that says you have, you know, month 2 or chapter 2. So each month, as Zach put here, of paid content, or paid member sponsorship, excuse me, unlocks another chapter. So let's say that we are 6 months into content, a seat becomes available for a brand new student who comes in. They have 1 month of member sponsorship. They do not immediately gain access to all of the content that those of you that are watching this video right now, starting out on the very first day of this class, will have access to. They are simply going to start at the beginning with the 1 month that they've paid for. It's very important to understand, because we don't want to see anybody get upset by going through, say, 2 months and then dropping out for, let's say, 7 or 8 months, and then we're getting into some amazing technical content, and then decide, I want to get that, and come back in and buy a 1 month of member sponsorship and get back into the class, only to find out that now they have the 3rd month open.
Right, and also, you know, if you might be wondering, why would you do this? You know, it seems like it would be so much more lucrative to allow people to jump in whenever they felt like it. Wait until we get to the material they want to have covered before they join. And I understand where you're coming from if you suggest that, or if you'd like to see that. Understand that's not our intention for the class. We're kind of looking at this class as an all or nothing style thing, but also, you know, if I was a student who was following along with this, you know, I can see myself maybe starting to feel a little bit cheated if somebody came in 3 months after me and just over the course of 1 month spent $35 and just went ahead and caught up and watched through all the videos, just had the opportunity to scan through everything and got all the way caught up for $35, where I've already spent $105 with 3 months of member sponsorship. It's just not fair.
That's right.
So we're only going to allow you to unlock 1 month's worth of content with each month of paid member sponsorship by way of this token system. That's really all it boils down to. Now, that said, if you do fall behind, let's say for some reason you start off in this first month and everything's going really well, but then for whatever reason you've got to cancel your member sponsorship and leave the class. If you come back in 6 months, let's just say random, as 6 months you come back, provided there's a seat. There may not be a seat for you to get back in. I just want to underline that. But let's say you do get back in and you really do want to catch up. You can pay for months of member sponsorship in advance and
That's
get
right.
caught up in that way.
But when you come back and you end up back in the class and pay for a month, I just want to point out, any previous months that you already had unlocked are still unlocked.
But only accessible as a member sponsor.
That's right.
If you're not a member sponsor, you can't go back and watch those videos. You only have access to MMO videos while you're a member sponsor.
That is correct.
And I'm just going to jot something about that here in my notes.
Okay, now I'm letting Zach do a whole bunch of writing. I do want to go ahead and throw one more thing into the token system area, and that is, for those of you that have come into this class and you stay with it. Now, we've had quite a few people pay for a year, and by paying for a year, you save a couple
months worth.
Yeah. For those of you that stay through the entire class until we say, okay, that's it, the MMO class is now complete, that does not mean that we can't go on and continue with asset development, etc. I mean, at that point, all of the systems are done. We have a functioning game, and then we may want to just go off and finish stuff ourselves, but at the point where we feel like we no longer need to document anything because all of the architecture is in place.
It's true.
So then when we say, okay, class is complete, for those of you that stayed dedicated and stayed throughout the entire process, what we're going to do is we're going to make available to you hard copies on DVD of the entire video set for the Unity MMO development class. We will ask that you pay for shipping because we have no idea how heavy the box may be because we simply don't know how many DVDs will be involved. But we're not going to ask for you to pay a product price whatsoever. We will simply say that the member sponsorship fee that you have paid throughout the duration of the class, well, that's what it cost, and then we shall send the hard copy to you. And that again will be for students that want this and pay for the shipping cost. So anything that either of you guys want to add into that?
Well, that's going to be for the member sponsors who are in the class right now and stay for the entire process.
That's right.
So if you've missed the initial sign up, this does not apply to you.
Well, we may end up making it to where someone who never heard about this but manages to get in, and they do the entire
So if you're a consecutive
process.
member all the way
Yeah.
through to the end.
Okay.
Exactly.
Unbroken. If the chain is unbroken.
And exactly. That's the key. The moment the chain's broken and you've dropped the class and then you come back 2 months later, we're looking for people that keep a consistent run as people that we will award this to.
Right.
Okay? So that's a
Pretty much
good
fills my page anyway. So
Yeah, it's really nice because, I mean, the bottom line is, at that point, you no longer have to be a member sponsor because you will have all of those videos in your possession forever.
That's right.
So let's see. Moving on from there, a few things we need to hit real quick. Source code.
Ooh. There's been a lot of discussion about this since we even talked about having this class. The idea with source code handling is that we will be coding on screen.
That's right. There will be no distribution of source code into the classroom from us. We have never distributed source code in the past with any of our programming VTMs, and the reason is because we intend our videos to be educational tools to teach you how to do this kind of stuff, not just a place that you can kind of listen to something in the background playing about blah blah, make this class do this. Well, I'm just going to go over here and copy and paste all of this code, and whoa, look what I've got. Now I'm just going to start playing with it and modifying, and we're putting forth a massive amount of effort to actually record the coding of this and to discuss why we're doing things, etc., etc. And we would like for that to go, well, appreciate it, number one. Number two, of course, there is a massive security risk with just putting out thousands upon thousands of lines of code that people that are in the class could easily take and distribute to other people outside of the class.
Well, sure, there are plenty of folks out there who would love to just say, well, why would I pay to watch these videos? Why would I take part in this class? If I could just get the source code and read over it, that's all I really need. And I hate to say it, but we want to encourage people to get into the class, not push them away or make it. We don't want to give them a situation where they can say, oh, well, I'll just take this and not join you in the class. So
Exactly.
we won't be handing out source code, but we are going to go through the coding process on screen. You will see the process of the creation of the source code. Whenever possible, you'll see it coded out live. In any circumstance where we can't code it out live, we're going to be going over that code and showing you how it works, showing
That's
you
right.
how it was created. So whether it's in overview or whether it's live coded in front of your face, you're going to see all of the source code.
That's right. Now, since we are developing this thing live, starting now basically, there are going to be times that we'll need to do rewrites. We'll be doing loads of refactoring. There may be systems that get pulled out, systems that get injected later. I mean, I know it all comes down to really good planning, but we're going to progress forward in an organic nature. So if we decide that we want to add something in later, we can do that.
Well, that also changes up a little bit the way the videos are recorded from the way they have been in the past, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. For the simple fact that in the past, when we are creating a training video that is actually teaching a particular programming subject or anything, be it Maya, Max, etc., if we had some sort of major malfunction, hiccup, whatever it may be, or something just didn't go right and we didn't catch it until later on and it bit us in the butt, we would go back and re-record the video. Since this MMO class, video-wise, is going to be massive by the time we get to the end, we can't do that. We can't say, oh man, we're 2 hours into coding this and we need to stop and rewind because we really needed to have, these two classes over here helping out with whatever. So, deal with it. We just need to deal with it.
Yeah, we'll just deal with it.
That's right.
Which means complete systems may be rewritten during the process of this. If we find something's just a dead end and we can't refactor it and we have to start over, we will do it if we have to.
But you're going to hear the reasons why.
Yeah.
And
Probably heated reasons why.
yeah, you'll probably hear those types of situations arise. I mean, they sure did on the MMO tech. There were lots of arguments between Lee and I. And we're going to capture that stuff. Again, we're calling it a class, but it's really a documentary of this process.
For those of you who are like, well, why didn't you just sell it as a documentary? It's because we are going to be making ourselves available to interact with you while we make it. If
right.
it was just a documentary, it would already be done. And you could go ahead and start watching it today and see it almost like in a post-mortem, and it's not that way.
Exactly.
We are going to be creating this and putting out the videos while we create it. At any point along the way, you'll be able to jump into the forums or maybe take part in one of the meetings and say, hey, why I'm trying to do this way, why doesn't it work, and blah, blah, blah. You'll be able to interact with us, which makes it very class-like.
That's right.
So that's kind of where our definition
Not
comes
to mention,
in.
everyone that's watching this video, they all have the ability to help influence how this game takes shape.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Even in some of our forums now with the Unity stuff, there have been very useful members that have pointed out things that we haven't thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, hey, why didn't you think about that? And it's like, if it's a really good idea and we haven't thought about it, we'll take your advice and try it.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and move on to 3D and other assets. So basically just assets.
Artistic assets.
That's right. So assets.
And of course, by this, we mean 3D models, we mean textures, we mean sounds,
the list just goes
animations.
on and on.
I mean, there's
Concept art.
anything that basically is not a line of program code. We're going to just kind of list under the heading of an artistic asset.
Exactly. Okay. Boy, oh boy.
Well, the important
Go
thing
ahead.
I'll just go ahead and take over real quick. The important thing to keep in mind about these is that we are not putting a heavy amount of importance on their creation.
As far as video recording goes.
Yeah. It's not critical to the content.
That's right. 3D Buzz has already invested thousands of hours with videos on how to model and animate with 3ds Max, Maya, etc. And as member sponsors, you guys have access to all of that.
That's right.
So make use of it.
There's so much 3D content available, texturing content available, animation content available. And we don't have that much on sounds, but we're trying to keep this primarily focused on the hardcore coding development process. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to leave you in the dark. The assets that we use, that we create in-house, will be taught via overview whenever possible.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, once we've given you an overview of, here is an item that we're going to be putting in the game, and it is, I'm just going to make something up, a health potion.
Sure.
But we have 36 other kinds of potions.
Yeah, we're not going to have individual videos over everything. I mean, a static object, really, is just, here's a model and here's a texture for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need to do that for what is probably going to be thousands of different unique items.
That's right.
Not to mention characters. We need to get the workflow across to you.
Yep.
The important things you need to know to create this kind of stuff on your own. But please don't expect there to be, well, here's an overview of this character. Now, here's an overview of this character, which is pretty much the same thing, but is slightly different color and slightly taller.
Right.
Now, here's an overview of this character. If it gets highly repetitive, we're not going to do it. We have so much 3D content that we really don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing this.
Exactly.
Now, that said, if we're putting this heavy importance on the coding and development side of things, what does that say for those of you who are programmers who are following along and may not even really give any kind of worry or concern? You just don't want to do 3D at all.
That's right.
We will be providing 3D assets to you. We'll be providing our assets whenever we can. Now, I'll talk about that in just a second. Let me write that a different way.
Okay.
So, assets will be distributed when possible. Now, that opens up a whole can of worms. When possible is the real kicker there. If we make something entirely in-house, using just our in-house talent...
Or if we have something that is submitted...
well, I'll get to submissions.
Okay.
Let me start simple.
Okay.
If we make something that's entirely ours, we're going to be handing it out to you. If we have something, say a sound effect that we got out of a sound library, that's not ours to give.
That's right.
We paid for the sound library, and so we have license to use it in our works, but we don't have a license to just hand it out to anybody who might want it, even if you're
Exactly.
paying for our class. We can't do that. The same is true of textures. If we pull something out of a texture library, or even if we go buy a model off of TurboSquid, we can't just hand that out. It's illegal, and we don't support that. So anything that we can give you, we will. Now, we will be allowing those of you out there who are so inclined the ability to submit assets to us if you want. If you want your model to be in our game, you can send us a model.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We will also be probably, very probably in the not so distant future, working with outsourced contractors. We're going to have to talk to people maybe on TurboSquid, get on some freelance websites and start hiring some people. There are a lot of assets required to have a robust game of any type, be it an MMO, a first-person shooter, or anything. You need a lot of work. We are, in the end, only a few guys.
That's right.
So we're not going to be doing it all. So there will be some assets provided by way of outsourcing. Any asset that we have paid for, that we have had, that we hired someone to develop, we will distribute these to you.
That's right. Also, let's make this very clear. Any student that wishes to contribute, the moment you hand that over, you are giving us not only the right to put it in the game, but basically the right to use it any way we would like so that we can then turn around and redistribute it to all other students. If you have concern of that, then simply keep your models to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. If you're excited about some model and you're like, oh, I would so love my whatever kind of character I just made today to be in the game and I want to see it running around, by all means give it to us. But please understand that anything that you submit in this manner will also be distributed to your fellow students. So they may all be using it. And if that bothers you, just don't give us your stuff.
Exactly.
But it's not an exclusive rights. It's still your model.
That's
You'll
right.
still be able to use it yourself and sell it if you want. Use it in your own game. We're not taking it away from you. We're just
Basically
having you let us use it as we need.
as we see fit, which generally means distribution to students and of course it being in our game.
So there's the simple version of it, as I just horridly misspelled that word, is that it's still your work. You can still we'll even put your name in the credits.
Yeah, you definitely get credit for it.
You will get credit for it. But by submitting a model, you're giving us the right to not only use it in any way we see fit in terms of our training, in terms of our game, you're also giving us the right to distribute it out to the class.
That's right.
So if you're okay with that, awesome. If you're not, that's fine. There's no hard feelings.
That's right. I guess at the end of the day, I would probably say 95 to 98% of the assets will be distributed to your students.
Right.
Okay.
Just the only ones we won't are the ones that we can't.
Exactly. Okay, so with that, Zach, let's go ahead and move on to software, and we'll take just a moment to talk about some of the software that we're going to be using. Yeah.
Trying to open a document, I guess. There we go. Sorry.
It's all good.
All right. Software.
Okay, so softwares that we're going to be using, but we're not going to limit ourselves to this because, well, we may need to add stuff to it. Starting out, we're going to be using the mind mapping one. We're gonna before we even get to Unity.
All right. I mean, it made sense at the time. So NovaMind.
NovaMind. And we will discuss that in the next video.
Also, potentially, if you're, by way of iThoughts.
If you are an iPhone or iPad user.
If you're an iOS. And there might even be a Droid version of that. I have no idea.
That's possible.
Okay, so
all right,
that,
Unity.
Unity. All right, now we're to Unity.
And we're working with 3.1 at the moment. We are working with Unity Professional.
Yeah, that's true.
Though 99% of everything will work fine with Unity Standard, the free version.
Yeah, I'll put not absolutely critical.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker. Okay, Maya, of course.
Now, I do want to say this, though, when I say that Unity Pro is not absolutely critical. You will come across features that our Pro version will have in our game that you will not be able to do. As we get deeper and deeper into the process, it's entirely possible they might be major features. But when I say it's not a deal breaker, what I mean is you will be able, with Unity, standard Unity, to make an MMO. It might be missing a few of the things that we have because we are using Pro, but you can build a massively multiplayer online game that leverages the Photon socket server.
You'll actually be able to, follow what we're doing. But
exactly.
You may not have rich dynamic shadows.
Right.
Or better yet, you will not.
Well, I'm kind of throwing out kind of a just-in-case statement. If later on down the road we get into some sort of development that does leverage something that is Pro-related, I mean, it's possible, but it won't be a deal breaker.
Yeah, there's no deal breaker.
You'll still get an MMO. All right, so we have Maya. That's a standard. This is just our weapon of choice for 3D.
That's right.
It's not better than any other 3D app out there. As a matter of fact, for this kind of work, this low poly kind of work, it really doesn't much matter what you use. Whatever you're comfortable with will be fine as long as it supports the FBX format. Because that's what Unity likes to listen to. So if it has FBX, you can use it, and we don't really care which one you use.
Of course, we'll also be using ZBrush. And we'll also be using Photoshop.
As you see here.
That's a given.
We'll be using it for a lot more than just whiteboards.
We are discussing creating a small series of videos covering Blender, providing at least enough content to get up to speed working with some models.
And I'll just put a little side here. Planned. It's just one of those things that it's kind of like we're looking at it.
That's right.
We're very seriously considering it.
That's right. Just so that those of you out there that do not have access to educational versions of software packages like Maya or 3ds Max, and you cannot afford the very expensive costs of these applications, you can get a program like Blender and still create content for your MMO.
I mean, not to go into a big long tirade about how there used to be a PLE and stuff like that.
Now, from the coding side, of course, we're going to be using Visual Studio 2010. You may see us get into mono develop from time to time if we need to use the debugger.
Is there a capital D there? Oh well. You'll know.
There is now.
There is now, exactly.
With Visual Studio, we have one particular plugin that is absolutely critical that we love, and that's ReSharper. So we
Well,
will
it's
be
not
using it.
absolutely critical.
To us, yes.
For us, it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for our development, we thrive on it.
That's right.
You will see us using it because it does do some nice code generation. And so if you don't have it, you'll see some code start magically appearing, and that could get a little bit frustrating. You have been warned.
Well, the bottom line is ReSharper can speed you up significantly. And we are talking about coding out a very, very complex project. And anything that helps speed us up, that's good.
Now, ReSharper is not free.
No, it is not.
No, just so everybody knows, it's something you do have to pay for.
There is an academic version that you can get. There's a personal version you can get that's relatively inexpensive. And then, of course, there's the commercial version that you can get. So I just wanted to toss that out there real quick. But it's not required to follow along. And with Visual Studio, you can go out and get Visual Studio Express, and that doesn't cost any money. Or you can mono-develop. You're good there. And again, free. So, yeah, you'll be able to follow along coding-wise without any problem.
Yeah.
And for our socket server, we're going to be using Photon. And Photon it's awesome. It allows us to do all of our server-side coding in C#, so we get to work with just one unified language all the way around. So client-side, C#, server-side, C#. That's awesome. Also, Photon provides a free 100 concurrent connection license. That means you can have 100 people concurrently connected to your MMO running around.
I don't even have 100 friends.
I mean, that's pretty
It's
active.
like everybody I know would have to play the game at the same time to get through that.
That's a lot of people. And then they have amazing pricing to go from there if you wanted to start having more people connected. And you could use this fully commercial too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. Very, very cool stuff. And we'll talk a lot more about Photon coming up in the near future.
Now, is that it for our software?
Well, one more thing. We were originally looking at using MySQL as our database, but recently we have decided to try out RavenDB, and we've gotten the thumbs up from the folks over at RavenDB to use this because it is not it's not free if you're using this for any sort of commercial project. And of course here we are teaching this, but we have gotten the thumbs up for as long as we're teaching it that we can use this for free and teach it. And our students, those of you out there that are interested in using RavenDB, you are also able to go and get it and utilize it as long as you are following along with the class.
Right, but if you're producing anything commercially, even if what you're putting together for the class you're planning on releasing commercially, you really need to pay for RavenDB.
Yeah, once you get ready to roll out commercially, then you'll need to get your license. But this allows us to stay, again, within the world of C# and to get away from, ORMs, which is really nice. So let's see. I think that's everything we wanted to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned with C# several times. We are planning almost all of the development to be around C# and in C# exclusively, with the exception that occasionally, as we go out, we may run into some scripts that are in JavaScript. We'll probably, if we decide to use those, we'll probably show them and then convert them into C#.
Okay. I mean, we could mix and match scripts if we needed to. Who knows as we progress forward. But yeah, our primary language of choice will be C#.
And the only last thing I'll mention is along the way, because we've got a lot of work ahead of us, we may discover some tool that we just didn't think we really, really needed at this stage of the game that may augment our workflow.
Exactly. Okay, so from software, let's just move on to unruly students.
Well, student situations.
Student situations.
And this is just kind of something that we don't really want to have to go into, but experience has taught us that it's probably foolish for us not to bring it up.
That's right. There's a lot of students in this class, and it just happens.
Well, some of you will, invariably, somebody along the way will end up having some kind of a problem. Maybe you're just having a bad day. Maybe you don't agree with anything that happens to be going on in this class, and you just want to vent on the forums.
Yep.
And we're not allowing that in any way. If you have a problem with anything that is going on in this class, if you have a problem with any one of us, if you don't agree with something, or
and you want to vent to us, that's fine.
yeah. So I mean, any issues, complaints, concerns, or anything of the like, need to be delivered in private.
That's right. Send through PMs. If need be, we can arrange for times that we could talk over Skype, the phone, etc.
Yeah, we're happy to talk to you.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you one-on-one. If you want to give us a call and you want to just chat either on Skype or on an actual telephone.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a significant problem, we want to work with you to sort it out.
Absolutely.
Do not get into our forums, especially in the classroom, and just start ranting about it or complaining about your issues. Let's just come to us and we will deal with them.
There is a zero tolerance for that, and we will just immediately remove students like that from the class, and there will be no refund whatsoever. It's just want to make sure this is clear right up front. So you're able to rant and rave all you want, just do it to us in private so that we can work with you to try to make things right.
And as for a PM box, if you're looking for one right now, if you're like, oh, I need to rant at somebody right this second, I totally understand. I can be reached via PM here on 3D Buzz as Zach, or of course you can just email me at zach@3dbuzz.com. And again, if you have any issues, just send them my way, and we're very happy to work with you. But that stuff belongs in private. When you're actually in the university, if you have a significant problem, you need to go to the professor during office hours or pull them out in the hall. But you don't handle that sort of thing in the middle of class, and that's exactly what our forums are.
That's right. Okay, so anything else you can think of?
No.
Just the only last thing I have here on the notes is just a reminder for those of you that stay with us throughout the entire process. Again, as long as you cover shipping at the very end, we will make sure that you get a complete hard set of the entire video collection once we get done. And we have no idea how big this thing's going to be. We just don't.
We shall see.
I hope that everybody has a lot of fun. I know we will. I know when we were working on the MMO tech, like I said, when we got about 6 months into it, we really got carried away. And at that point, we were just ready to just continue.
Yeah.
But we didn't have our story. It all started with a digital art gallery and a contest and kind of went from there into an amazing world and an amazing journey.
It was just going to be a little single-player game where you could explore an art gallery, and it's like, well, it'd be great if we could get more people into it, and then it'd be great if you could see all these other people, and really, it just kind of grew from there.
It did. It really did. So, again, welcome to the class, and I hope we see a lot of interaction in the forums, and let's see if we can turn this into one of the most interesting and exciting experiences to have been done in an educational format on the internet yet, and let's hope you guys can help make that happen. So thank you very much, and anything else either of you two would like to add in?
We totally failed at making this a short video.
Oh, we did. So much for 15 minutes, huh? Well, I hope everybody made it all the way through because all of this content is extremely important. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap this one up. And we'll just see you over in the classroom forums and in numerous other videos as they are produced. Thanks a lot.
Take care.